Good day, students. It's Suppl Dama here. This is a supplementary exam-based presentation. You know, at the beginning of the year or mid-year, we gave you where I had ticked all 3 examinations together, but we've decided, due to some unforeseeable reasons, we at IOL have decided to prepare this guidance for Introduction to Educational Research. The code is IER31. For those who will sit for supplementary examination, we are referring to students who couldn't make it in April or August, but they still have got this chance to sit. So I will give you some guidance, but it has to be clear that this is not the only information you should rely on. You should still read your study guide and then other presentations that we have given you over the past years. In my first slide, I just want to encourage students to know the meaning of the verbs that are used in the examinations. Some of the questions will ask you to define words, and then I gave you here, I'm just saying defining, I expect you to give the precise, brief meaning of something, or of an aspect or of a concept or of the word, or we ask you to compare. Then you should read now on these slides, what do we expect you to do? Contrast. Here you need to show how things are different or opposite regarding particular criteria. And here now you need to look only for differences, but not similarities, like when you are comparing. Describe. You should understand when we ask you to describe, what do we expect? Discuss, explain, and so on. These words are a lot. I've just given you a few. But if you look at your book, you'll find a lot of them. We continue. Now, I was thinking about it and I said, okay, probably let's look at some possible questions. As I said, don't expect all of them in the examination. Don't expect only these questions to come in the examination. That one should be clear from the onset. So the possible questions that I want to share with you are the definition of words, definition of concepts, definition of terms. You know, in the examination, we sometimes ask using different words. Like these words, we can call it terms or words or concepts. Which are the words that I need you to know the definition of? For example, of course, there are others in the study guide. Research. Your module is Introduction to Educational Research. But when we are talking about research, I want you to know how to define the word research. Research ethics. When we are talking about research ethics, what do we mean? Data analysis, what do we mean and how do we use these words in research? Validity, mixed methods, research methodology. When we are talking about research methodology, what are we referring to? What is the definition? Plagiarism, what is plagiarism? How is it allowed in research? How is it not allowed in research? Reliability, validity, we said that already, surveys, model, theory. These are some, and I repeat, some of the words that you should know definitions of. Other questions I may ask you in the upcoming examination to know the characteristics of both qualitative and quantitative research designs. We only have got 2 research designs in research, so I can ask you to mention the characteristics or to write down or to describe the characteristics of both research designs, and I'm referring to quantitative and qualitative research. I can also ask you to elaborate how each of the following words are used in each of this research design. Which words are they? How do we use scientific methods? What are the scientific methods in qualitative research design, and what are the scientific methods in quantitative research design? The view of human behavior. How is human behavior viewed in qualitative and in quantitative research design? I think in your book they are presented in the form of a table, if I'm not wrong. If it's not, you learn them as they are. Most common research objectives. What are the most common research objectives in both research design? The focus. What is the focus? When we are doing qualitative research design and quantitative research design, what is the focus of each of this research design? The interest, because these two research designs have got different interests. What are the interests in a qualitative research design and what are the interests of a quantitative research design? The nature of observation, the way we observe aspects or things in quantitative is different from the way we do our observation in qualitative. Nature of reality in each of these research design, form of data, what form of data do we collect in research design and what form of data do we collect in qualitative and in quantitative. Data analysis, how do we analyze data? Once we have collected the information, how do we analyze data in qualitative research design and how do we analyze data? How do we do data analysis in quantitative research design? How are the results? How should we present the results in each of these research design? The formal or final report, because in research, when you are conducting research, you have to give the final report. How do we give the final report in each of these research design, etc., etc. I just put a source there that it's elaborated very clearly and very well and very interestingly by Johnson and Christensen of 2008. We continue. What are the other possible questions you should expect? And I repeat again, not only these questions, but these are some of the questions that you can look at to prepare for the upcoming examination. The question may read, briefly discuss the term data analysis. Remember, you should know the definition of data analysis. I can also ask you to discuss the term in detail. For example, I expect you to first define the term data analysis, and later you can now describe the ways of data analysis according to qualitative and quantitative research design. Another question that might come in, I can ask you to examine 3 common purposes of research. What are the common purposes of research? We are now doing research. What is the purpose of research? And I can as well ask you to give practical examples. So when you are studying, don't just know the 3 common purposes. Also think of their practical examples. How do we use them in real life situation? We continue. Another question that you might expect or you can prepare for, I might ask with a statement. I start, educational research has to fulfill a particular structure for it to be regarded and qualified as a scientific inquiry process. That is just a statement. Now the questions might be, list and discuss different subheadings. Yes, we've got different subheadings. I can ask you to list them, not only listing, and explain them as well. Which steps? Sometimes we say steps, sometimes we say components of a research proposal as outlined by Marie, 2007. Another question that you might expect is the major common purposes of educational research. Another question, I'm just giving you random questions. If they come in, you are lucky. If they don't come in, at least you have studied and you will know introduction to educational research. I can ask you to identify 4 functions of literature review. Remember, in research, we've got that subheading of literature review. Why do we need literature review in research? I can ask you to give 4 functions. Maybe there are many, maybe there are only 4. So I will ask you to give those functions if you are lucky. Another question might be, mention and discuss what critical reading is. Or in other books, it's called critical engagement. First, you mention what it is. Later, you discuss how we use critical reading or how do we do critical reading. Okay, another question might be the principles of a questionnaire construction. When you are doing research, you have to have a questionnaire or interview schedule, or you do observation, or you interview people, or you record, and so on. But now when you are using your questionnaire in your research, when you are preparing or you are constructing a questionnaire, I can ask you to give me the 5 principles of evaluating a design questionnaire. If I give you a design questionnaire that is already set up, what do you look at to say, yes, this questionnaire look good? It's all in your study guide, students. Just read and look for the information. As you can see, I will not give you questions and answer, because I want you to go back to your study guide and read and find answers for yourself. Another question that might come in, if you are lucky, describe 3 ways. I can ask you to describe 3 ways of data analysis according to the quantitative, or I can say 3 ways of data analysis according to the qualitative research design. Questions continue. That might be one of the questions to carry a lot of marks. Most of the time it carries these questions that you see now about educators. It can carry 15 or 20 marks. As educators, we are mostly confronted with various challenges in our educational institutions. Our educational institutions are schools, such as the challenges or the problems that we are experiencing in schools or in educational institutions are absenteeism among learners, late coming among learners, lack of discipline, school dropouts, etc. There are many problems in our schools, or high failure rate. That's why I'm saying etc. The community that we live in is always expecting educators, is always expecting us teachers to identify and search for the causes of these problems. Yes, there is a problem. Now the community, the parents, the guardians, and the learners themselves expect teachers to find, to identify, and search for the causes of these problems. How do we identify the causes of these problems? Through research. That's why you are studying this module, Introduction to Educational Research. The community can also expect us to find out why and how these problems in our schools affect teaching and learning, as well as the well-being of the school and community at large. And that is just a statement. Now the question can come. Can ask you to identify, come up with the problem, and explain how you will solve it. That is now according to that statement. Another question I may ask you is to formulate the educational research problem. Remember, the community's eyes are upon us. You can now formulate, come up with any educational research problem as stipulated by QMA 2005 and MARI 2007, and identify the purpose and the roles of that educational problem. Okay? Another question, I can ask you to describe the 5 Maton dimensions, the 5 dimensions of Maton, or according to Maton, of research. Because in your guide, study guide, there are these 5 dimensions according to Maton, the dimensions of research. And I can also ask you not only to mention them, but to describe them and give practical examples. Students, those are some of the questions that might come in place. All others that are in your study guide, they are just some important notes. When you are sitting for the examination, I know you can be anxious and afraid, or you are just too much in the mood, you have studied too much, you have listened to a lot of presentations that are on YouTube. Remember to answer all the questions. You never know. Don't leave empty spaces that cost you a lot of marks. Answer the questions according to how you can remember. Point number 2, you need to read widely. I keep on emphasizing, don't just concentrate on this presentation. You need to read widely. What do we mean? Research is discussed on Google. Your study guide is big enough, all the information is there. These presentations some of the presentations that I recorded for the past years, I was teaching, giving content. Find those presentations and listen to them and follow and add on Introduction to Educational Research Knowledge. And I repeat, do not confine yourself to the study guide or this presentation only. It's just an advice. We do not show references in the examination. Some of you have lost marks in the assignment because I was like, you didn't show references. Where are your references? But when it comes in the examination, you cannot show references because you can't remember where you have read this. As I said, consult different resources. During the assignment, you were sitting at home, you could remember, I got this information from this book, but in the examination, never show references. Students, I wish you all the best. I'm expecting 100% pass rate during this supplementary examination so that we won't have the module being carried to another year. So, from our side, from IOL side, we wish you all the best in the upcoming examination. I thank you.